Feeling anxious to get back out there? Why not start slow by exploring your own backyard? Welcome to MojoTravels, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 American post-pandemic vacation destinations. Are you a fan of our videos? Be sure to subscribe to MojoTravels and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. For this list, we're looking at various trips and vacation ideas that American travelers may want to consider when it's deemed safe to do so in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. International travel is likely to be complicated, not to mention intimidating for some time, but for US residents looking for domestic travel inspiration, here are some great experiences that will satisfy your desire to get out of the house while minimizing risk. Before we get started, please remember that you should consult with any travel warnings, advisories, and local recommendations relating to the pandemic before making any travel arrangements. Number 10. Hit the open road. Sometimes you just need to get in the car and drive. And after spending so much time cooped up in early 2020, we suspect that now is one of those times. Local restrictions permitting, a road trip is a great option for your first travel experience post-pandemic. Public transit is likely to have people feeling uneasy for quite a while moving forward. And the same goes with transportation options like trains and airplanes. That's a lot of people crammed into a small space, making social distancing all but impossible. Maybe social distancing will no longer be a consideration by the time you're ready to travel again, but regardless, the freedom, personal space, and control afforded by a road trip remains undeniably appealing. Road trips not only allow you to mix and match environments, but also adjust your plans as often as you like, depending on how you're feeling. Number 9. Rent a private home. Depending on the type of traveler you are, a big part of the appeal of going on vacation might very well be the luxury of getting pampered. Room service, someone to carry your bags, tropical drinks delivered right to you as you lounge by the pool or beach. It's all part of the experience. Unfortunately, such comforts also go hand in hand with relatively crowded resort hotel environments, which significantly detracts from the appeal of a resort vacation. It's hard to enjoy your drink when the person in the neighboring beach chair keeps coughing. As such, it might be worth considering going the rental property route instead. In the wake of COVID-19, many rental property companies are putting a big emphasis on top-to-bottom sanitizing procedures between guests to ensure a comfortable, worry-free stay. As for treating yourself, you can make up for the lack of services by springing for a property with more comforts than any hotel room. Number 8. Explore wine country. Wide open spaces, picturesque landscapes of green, and alcohol. What more could you ask for after one of the most stressful collective experiences in recent memory? Tourism in all its forms was hit by COVID-19 in a major way, and the wine industry is no exception. Many small-scale producers depend on wine tasting and tours as a major chunk of their revenue. So, like many businesses, this has put them in a precarious financial position. So, why not make your first trip one that's relaxing, fun, and comes with the added benefit of giving back to a specific business or community of businesses that could really use it? With wine regions across the country, it's not hard to find one you can comfortably drive to for a long weekend. Top choices include Sonoma and Napa Valley in California, Fingers Lake, New York, Texas Hill Country, and Charlottesville, Virginia, just to name a few. Number 7. The ultimate ski adventure. If you're feeling especially nervous about how long it will take America to recover from the pandemic, you may choose to put off traveling for quite some time. Thankfully, because of the country's diverse climates and landscapes, there's really no bad time to travel in the United States. Most of the entries on our list today are intended for a later summer or early fall trip, but winter needn't be a time for hibernation by default. Why not get out there and hit the slopes? Skiing and snowboarding provide a great opportunity to exercise in the great outdoors. And apart from the lines at the lift, they're activities that are all around pretty good in terms of social distancing, especially with many mountains limiting chairlifts to single parties. And if those lines are still considered cause for concern by the time you're feeling ready to travel, it's pretty easy to incorporate a mask into your outfit. You usually cover your face on the slopes anyways. Number 6. Hiking and backpacking. So, how did you do in terms of your daily exercise once the pandemic hit? Unless you were among the essential services and actually found yourself working overtime, we're guessing your step count wasn't great. Then again, maybe you took the initiative to start going out for social distancing walks. And if so, well done. Most people, however, are craving the great outdoors and the opportunity to make up for lost time in terms of exercise. If you've got experience with backcountry camping, consider finding yourself a trail and embarking on that epic hiking adventure that you keep putting off in favor of more alluring international and city travel. Armed with nothing but some sturdy footwear, your backpack, and desire to reconnect with nature, you're sure to gain a lot of perspective. Big-name routes like the Pacific Crest Trail are still likely to be crowded, but there's no shortage of alternatives. Minnesota's Superior Hiking Trail, the American Discovery Trail, and the Pacific Northwest National Scenic Trail are all great options. Number 5. Small town travel. You can't live through something like a pandemic and come out of it unchanged. Sure, some people will be itching to dive back into their old habits, but others are bound to struggle with anxieties about big crowds, small spaces, and high-touch surfaces. If you think you might fit into the latter category, or you just want to be cautious for the greater good, consider exploring small-town America for your first few trips. According to early research, travel bookings are skewing in favor of small to mid-sized communities. Not only do such environments tend to strike a better balance with nature, but they're also less crowded and usually approach life at a bit more of a relaxed pace. There's also just something generally comforting about small-town culture, and comfort is something that most people are looking for after the pandemic. Some of the most popular small-town getaways include Fairbanks, Alaska, Bar Harbor, Maine, Taos, New Mexico, and Eureka Springs, Arkansas. Number 4. A cabin in the woods. We know, our entry title is dangerously close to that of a horror movie. But hey, what are you gonna do? When you strip this concept of all of its horror film associations, what you're left with is a quiet, secluded, nature-centric retreat from society and all of its stressors. Earlier, we suggested backpacking and/or multi-day hiking trips, but we recognize that pitching a tent and cooking over a fire isn't for everyone. By getting your own little rental cabin, you can get all the natural beauty and crowd-free outdoor activities, without compromising on any of the comforts you've grown accustomed to, like a bed, electricity, and running water. Unlike backpacking, the only limit on how much stuff you bring with you is the size of your car. Best of all, depending on your standards, you can usually find your own little wilderness retreat to match just about any budget. Number 3. Smaller cities. As much as it breaks our hearts to say it, it's going to be some time until many people are comfortable returning to a major American metropolis like New York City. Travel is supposed to be a pleasurable experience, and that's simply too hard to do when you're worrying about a resurgence. Forbes has listed Los Angeles, Detroit, Miami, and Tampa alongside NYC as the cities that are worst situated in terms of recovery following the pandemic. But that doesn't mean that you can't enjoy city travel if you're feeling up to it. Silver linings are hard to find in the wake of a crisis, but when it comes to travel, take this as an opportunity to explore somewhat lesser traveled cities. The same Forbes article highlights Raleigh, North Carolina, Tucson, Arizona, Boise, Idaho, and Provo, Utah as being among those likely to recover the quickest. Bigger name destinations like Denver and Salt Lake City are also expected to bounce back relatively fast. Number 2. National and state parks. The pandemic and life in isolation certainly gave rise to some interesting new hobbies. Everyone seemed to get into baking bread. Many people dusted off video game consoles or joined virtual film clubs for a bit of escapism. Apartments and homes got rearranged and redecorated, some multiple times over. We collectively did everything in our power to avoid going crazy inside, but most of us are understandably feeling a bit desperate for a few days away. Thankfully, Americans are truly spoiled when it comes to natural spaces where they can pitch a tent and find their own slice of wilderness. Consider yourself warned, however. The country's most iconic national parks, like Yosemite, Zion, Grand Teton, Yellowstone, and Glacier, have experienced issues of overcrowding since reopening, so consider making the trip to those with less name recognition. State parks in general are likely to be less overwhelmed. Of course, before planning a trip, be sure to check that the park in question is open. Number 1. Visiting family. COVID-19 has given us a new appreciation for travel. We'll never take it for granted again, but it's by no means the only thing that we missed. After being cut off from family during the pandemic, many Americans will be making a trip to see their relatives a top priority. According to a Longwoods International survey, over 50% of Americans are prioritizing visiting friends and family as their very first travel experience post-pandemic. The nice thing about this type of travel is that beyond the obvious perks of reuniting with the people who matter most to you, you also have a lot of control. Together with the family and/or friends you'll be visiting, you can have lengthy discussions to make sure that you're on the same page about the sorts of activities everyone is willing to do, and any specific sanitary measures that you feel are important to maintain even as society starts up again. Check out this other recent clip from MojoTravels, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.